What's poppin', world? I hope all is well. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and click that bell so you get notification anytime I go live and anytime I post a video. If you've been before, go ahead and hit that like button so we can get to the algorithm and more people can see this content. And if any moment during this video you like what you're hearing, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Let's get into this. Today we're going to watch a clip from the Hardly Initiated podcast, and I believe they had guests Garner on and a few other guys, and these guys were discussing marriage. Now, in this clip, Garner says that in his book, or in his eyes, you are not a real man until you are able to achieve marriage, right? Until you're able to achieve marriage. We're going to watch this clip, and we're going to break this all the way down. Let's get into this.
Does not achieve marriage, that he will never become a real man.
To me, you won't, because at the end of the day, our job is to create family.
That's not possible.
Wow. What do you get? What at the end of the day, if I never got married, if I never have a wife, family, building a legacy, anything else, I'm on this earth just to serve myself, get as much happiness, gain as much materialistic thing as possible, then die. What was that of me?
Wow.
Would you ever go into at my funeral or put a mural up of me for that?
Nope.
Never.
Nope.
You would never care about that. But a man who sacrificed his whole life, a man who served others his whole life, a man who served his family, the world, generations, helped save others and been there, those are the men that you look to.
That's the legacy.
And those are the men you always seek to get wisdom, understanding from, because you see the sacrifice. But a man who only want to serve himself, who are you really?
I'm about to give me a goddamn wife.
All right, guys. So you saw that, you heard that. He said that you are not a real man in his book until you achieve marriage, right? Now, what do I think about that? I don't necessarily disagree with him. I actually like what he said. As a man of God, I like what he said. Now, there are going to be a lot of men who disagree with him, right? There are going to be a lot of men, even men who are married, I've heard, disagree with what he just said, right? They don't think that marriage is necessary. There are a lot of men turning away from marriage, especially with the red pill community on the internet. You got the manosphere on the internet. Now, all of these guys aren't against marriage per se, but they come up with a lot of talking points that kind of lure men away from marriage, right? They talk about the government, the systems, and how things need to be changed before men start getting married, right? They're telling a lot of guys not to get married, right? So a lot of guys are going to disagree with what he said. I don't necessarily disagree with what he said, right? I'm cool with what he said. I do believe that as men, we are here to build families, make families. I do believe that as men, we're here to make sacrifices, help others, do for others, fulfill our purposes, live for God, all of the above, right? I believe in that wholeheartedly. I do not have an issue with what he said. Now, I know there are a lot of men out here who are having a hard time finding women, finding a good, wholesome wife. I get it. The state of the dating market and the women here in America is getting worse by the day. I get it. And this thing might be worldwide, right? But I've heard in other countries there are more marriageable women, right? So I get all of that. I understand all of that. But as a man of God, I do believe that men should be getting married, right? I do believe that men should be getting married. Now, here's the thing about it. There are a lot of men out here who are out here making moves, right? Getting to the bag, chasing out their purpose, so to speak. And they're doing for themselves, right? And they're just building themselves up. That's cool, right? But I don't believe in being selfish in totality, right? Now, I've heard it being said that in order to be successful, right, you have to start off being selfish, right? You got to be about yourself to make sure you're good, to make sure you can do what you need to do to succeed. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, right? to be successful, yeah, you are going to have a lot of moments where you're going to make some selfish decisions. I understand that. But as men, I have a strong belief that we were put here to build and make families, right? Without a doubt. We were put here to build and make families and make sacrifices for our people, right? To make sacrifices for our people. And one of the biggest examples of doing that is within a marriage, right? To bond with a woman and to lead a family. That's one of the biggest ways to do that. That is one of the biggest ways to do that. Now, that's going to be a tall order in this day and age because a lot of women be on some other stuff. They chasing the dollar. They got masculine energy. They ain't acting right. I get it. They're not being respectful towards men. They don't respect men, right? Half of them think they're men. They try to take the role of a man on, right? They're not submissive, right? They're not keeping their beauty up. They're not keeping their hair up. They're not that attractive. They're overweight. I get all of that, right? So it is a challenge in this day and age to bond with a lot of women out here. I get it. But a huge step for a man is to bond with a woman and build a family. That is huge. That is huge. Now, the thing about it is this. We are in challenging times. I understand that. And my problem is this. What I don't believe in is a lot of guys out here who are successful out here doing their thing, going out here just knocking down the women left and right, having sex with all the women but not bonding with them. That's why I have a problem with a lot of the guys out here who's single, right? They're having sex with all these women and they don't plan to bond or marry any of them, right? It's one thing to do it as you kind of date, but you do want marriage. You're seeking marriage and you just kind of got to filter through the bad apples to get to the good one. I understand that. But you got guys out here who have no intentions on getting married, no intentions on bonding with a woman, no intentions on making a serious commitment with a woman. That's where I have an issue at. These guys who are out here doing their thing, destroying these women, running through them, because you're damaging them now when you hit it and keep it moving. You're damaging a lot of these women, and you know good and well you don't plan to commit to none of them. That's where I have a problem. I believe all men, right, should strive to get married. Now, there are two types of marriage, right? You got legal marriage, you got spiritual marriage, right? Legal marriage, that's through the system, that's through the government, that's signing the paperwork. That's the typical way people tend to get married, right? Then you got spiritual marriage. That's between you, the other person, and God. That's between you, the other person, and God. Now, biblically speaking, when a man and a woman lay down and had sex, they became one, right? They became one. And in my eyes, that's what I see spiritual marriage to be, right? You become one, and you and that other person, you're not out seeking other people, right? It's just you guys. You don't want nobody else. You want to live the rest of your years with this other person, right? That's how I see spiritual marriage, right? It's between you, the other person, and God. And you guys are following God, right? You guys are following God. That woman is submitting to the man. The man's the leader. And, you live happily ever after, right? But it's you two guys walking in step, chasing after God together. But that marriage is between you, the other person, and God, right? And you guys are following God. That's how I see spiritual marriage. You don't have to necessarily get the paperwork involved, but you and that other person are bonded to each other and you guys are following God together. That is what I see spiritual marriage is. If you don't want to get the court system involved, the government involved, right? So there are ways to get married, right? You got legally, you got spiritually. I just broke both of those ways down, but I do believe men should be out here getting married. Especially if you're out here having sex. Especially if you're out here having sex, you should definitely strive to get married. Stop making excuses, right? Stop making excuses. And I know the majority of you are out here having sex, so don't act like you're not. Don't act like you're. And you're out here having children, right? If you're gonna do that, come on, we gotta make this society a better place, and that's where we need to start. By building stronger families. That's where we need to start. We already know the stats on what happens when kids come out of single parent households, right? Look at the crime rates. Look at the stats. Most of those people committing crimes come from single parent households. Look at the stats on the education system and academics. The kids who are struggling 9 times out of 10 come from a single parent household. Look at the individuals who are in jail and in prison. Majority of those individuals come from single parent households, right? So the solution to many of our problems, right, is going to be to build stronger families. Build stronger families. Let's start creating more 2-parent households. Now, like I said in the beginning, I don't necessarily disagree with what he said. I don't disagree with him. Men should strive to achieve marriage, right? Men should strive to achieve marriage. And in his eyes, you're not a real man until you can do that. I don't have a problem with what he said. I don't have a problem with what he said. But that's all I got for you guys. Like this video. Share this video. Leave a comment in the comment section. I can be off on this. And remember, subscribe to the YouTube, Speaks the Beast. And more importantly, follow God. Keep God first. Keep God first. I love you all. Be blessed.